Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at a newly buffed Pokemon in the Season 15 balance update, and that is Mystical Fire and its addition to XL Shadow DRIFBLIM. These battles were submitted to the channel by a fellow content creator, Rose, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now, Mystical Fire is a pretty cheap charge move that does lower your opponent's attack, and it is a fire-type clone of the move Icy Wind. And DRIFBLIM already has access to Icy Wind, so now it's going to be running two identical charge moves, just with different typings. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out XL Shadow DRIFBLIM with Mystical Fire in the Open Ultra League. Hopping to the first match, picking up a favorable lead, XL Shadow DRIFBLIM into Swampert. DRIFBLIM firing off the Icy Wind as soon as it gets it, just wanting to get that early debuff applied. Opponent is going to counter switch into Registeel, and this is where having Mystical Fire in addition to Icy Wind can be nice. Mystical Fire will lower the attack, but hit for super effective damage as well, and now we have the Registeel mirror. Opponent ahead on energy, but they're debuffed thanks to the Mystical Fire. Zap Cannon connects, and now both Registeels are debuffed. Farming up and going for the Focus Blast. Thanks to that Zap Cannon debuff, this Focus Blast will not be enough to KO, but it will get the opponent quite low. Opponent firing off another charge move here. It is going to be another Zap Cannon, and they get another debuff. Registeel looking for the lock-on, farm down, and barely gets it. That is so nice. Opponent sends in Swampert, but Swampert did not have enough for the Earthquake. Focus Blast is double debuff. Swampert will be able to tank it very comfortably, farm up, and then fire off a charge move. Swampert goes for the Hydro Cannon. Registeel lives it with a sliver of HP, now saving that Registeel for potential catch later and sending in Dubwool. Dubwool shields, it's the Earthquake, that's a big shield, but in the back, there is Fairy Wind Clefable, and Fairy Wind Clefable is extremely spammy. So we're going to have the battle of spammy Pokemon, Dubwool with the double kick and body slam combination versus Clefable. Clefable fires off the Moonblast, that connects onto the Dubwool. Dubwool farming up past two body slams, and now firing off another body slam here. Clefable has two shields, going to let that through. Clefable saying, you know what, you are not fast move farming me down. Meteor Mash will be shielded. Dubwool at two more body slams here, and now the Clefable is eventually going to have to start shielding. Clefable shields the first. Dubwool, oh my goodness, goes for the body slam, but a beautiful catch by the opponent, catching on a Swampert. We see an undercharge. DRIFBLIM gets the Hex down. Oh my goodness, the plays in this game. Shadow DRIFBLIM now going for the Mystical Fire. Final Pokemon for the opponent. They have no way to reset that debuff. The question is, can Clefable 1v3 for the opponent? Meteor Mash connects. DRIFBLIM makes it to the Mystical Fire, and that's going to be game over. Mystical Fire takes down Clefable, and that's a good game. Picking up a dream lead in the next match, Shadow DRIFBLIM into Virizion. Opponent is going to save switch into Charizard, and Charizard's save switch is a bit uncomfortable for this team. Firing off the Icy Wind, this will hit for some neutral damage and of course get that ever important debuff, and now in comes Dubwool. Now that the Charizard has been debuffed, these Blast Burns aren't quite going to be as threatening. Blast Burn is going to connect onto the Dubwool, and Dubwool able to withstand that damage and return fire with the Body Slam. Body Slam gets the Charizard low. Charizard makes the last second charge move here, letting it through. XL Dubwool tanks the debuffed Blast Burn, farms down, leaving with a sliver of HP and a body slam loaded. In comes Virizion, just firing off this last second body slam. That will get a little bit of chip damage. In comes the DRIFBLIM. It's an Aurorus in the back, looking to switch and making it into the Registeel. But those decent switch timers did give Aurorus an energy lead here, and with two shields, Aurorus does have the potential to try and stall out the switch clock here. Meteor Beam number one is going to connect, firing off the Focus Blast here, looking to guarantee the shields from the Aurorus. Aurorus continuing to farm. Again, Registeel not going to be shielding as they fire off Meteor Beam number two, and now Aurorus is in a range where a third Meteor Beam would actually KO the Registeel since they're double boosted. Focus Blast will get the shield. Aurorus continuing to farm. This is going to be tough. Registeel commits the shield. It's a Weather Ball bait. Oh my goodness. Things suddenly looking dire. Registeel continuing to shield. This boosted Aurorus proving to be very problematic. Farming up. Opponent goes for the catch onto Virizion, and Virizion will be answered with the Shadow DRIFBLIM. DRIFBLIM tanks the Leaf Blade, farming up to the back-to-back Mystical Fires and going for Mystical Fire number 1. This will not KO, but it will get Virizion low. Virizion fires off another Leaf Blade with the debuff. Is this going to be enough to KO? Leaf Blade does not KO. DRIFBLIM farming up. 2 more Mystical Fires are reached, and that should be game here, as Mystical Fire is going to KO the Virizion, leaving with the Mystical Fire to debuff the Aurorus, and Registeel has the Focus Blast banked. In comes the Registeel, making it to the Focus Blast. Focus Blast KOs Aurorus, and that's a good game. Picking up a tricky lead in the next match, Shadow DRIFBLIM into Gliscor. Gliscor definitely a bit of a core breaker for this team, so it's definitely nice that DRIFBLIM is running Icy Wind. Icy Wind would hit for double super effective damage. DRIFBLIM winning CMP over the Gliscor, firing off the Icy Wind as Gliscor goes for the Night Slash. Night Slash will connect onto the Shadow DRIFBLIM, continuing to farm with the DRIFBLIM. Gliscor firing off another Night Slash. We will see a shield from the DRIFBLIM. DRIFBLIM just trying to get rid of this Gliscor, because hopefully once the Gliscor is out of the way, then Registeel can do quite well in back. Gliscor double shielding. This is going to be difficult. DRIFBLIM going to let this through. Night Slash onto the DRIFBLIM here. Will not KO. DRIFBLIM goes for the Icy Wind, and a very nice catch by the opponent. Opponent catching the Icy Wind onto Cresselia. DRIFBLIM going to stay in this matchup, rebanking the Icy Wind for later. I love that play, and in comes the Registeel. This is already a dominant matchup for Registeel, and with Cress being debuffed, this is just even worse for the opponent. And Zap Cannon is going to apply a ton of pressure onto the Cresselia, and a second one looks like will be enough to KO. They're firing off another charge move here, but again, this is resisted and debuffed. It's going to do absolutely nothing. Registeel continuing to farm, letting Cresselia make it to another charge move here, because honestly, Future Sight not going to be hitting for a lot of damage. Farming up with the Regi, going for the kill shot with the Zap Cannon. Zap Cannon onto Cresselia, will KO. In comes Gliscor. Gliscor farming up, and the snipe back into the Shadow DRIFBLIM. What a play. Icy Wind, double super effective. Get that Gliscor out of here. In comes Clefable, and the opponent concedes the match. We see a positive lead in the next match, Shadow DRIFBLIM into Defense Deoxys. Opponent save switches into Snorlax, and Snorlax will immediately be punished by the Dubwool counter switch. Dubwool not only is it double resisting the fast move of Lick, but it's hitting for super effective with the double kick. Dubwool farming up, almost at 2 more body slams here. Body slam connects onto the Snorlax. Snorlax has a lot of energy, and it's going to start using it now. Going for superpower number 1, Dubwool able to tank, and the double kick KOs, denying them a second charge move. In comes Defense Deoxys. Deoxys will be met with a payback. Payback hitting for massive super effective damage. Dubwool farming up, not getting the body slam as the counter will KO. DRIFBLIM going to let this move through. Deoxys fires off the rock side. That hits for quite a lot of damage. Deoxys continuing to farm, will be outpaced by a turn, as Deoxys will make the Psycho Boost. That will be shielded in the back. Opponent has their own Registeel, and now Shadow DRIFBLIM goes for the Mystical Fire. Mystical Fire connects. We see the 1-stage debuff, and now going for Mystical Fire number 2. This will debuff the Registeel by a second stage, as Registeel is forced to shield. Again, having that extra steel coverage on DRIFBLIM can definitely come in handy. Focus Blast connects onto the Regi, but that is double debuff. That's just not going to be hitting for a lot of damage. Firing off a Focus Blast of their own. Focus Blast is going to get the opponent low, but the opponent able to hang on with their Registeel and make the last second charge move. Focus Blast gets the Regi low. In comes the Deoxys. Deoxys looking for the farm down, and this could honestly be trouble, because Deoxys with energy here can probably make it to double charge moves versus the DRIFBLIM. DRIFBLIM going to need to make it to a Mystical Fire, but I think Deoxys just has too much energy here. DRIFBLIM shields. It's the Rock Slide. DRIFBLIM again gets outpaced by a singular turn. Deoxys KOs with the Rock Slide, and that's game over. We see another great lead in the next match, Shadow DRIFBLIM into Cresselia. Opponent save switches into Registeel, and again, this is where having that Mystical Fire can come in clutch for DRIFBLIM. DRIFBLIM firing off the Mystical Fire, opponent respecting it with a shield. Opponent knows about the Mystical Fire, does not want to take the super effective damage, so they manage to shield the damage, but they're still debuffed by 1 stage. DRIFBLIM shielding up the Zap Cannon, going for Mystical Fire number 2. Opponent now going to be 2 stages debuffed, and they give up both shields as well. DRIFBLIM farm it up. They're going to let this Zap Cannon through. This is double debuff. Shadow DRIFBLIM able to hang on. Unfortunately, that Zap Cannon will lower DRIFBLIM's attack. DRIFBLIM going for the Mystical Fire. That's not going to do a lot of damage to the Registeel. Registeel will be hit with a 4th Mystical Fire here. DRIFBLIM putting up one heck of a fight against Reggie. Registeel now 4 stages debuffed, fires off a Zap Cannon. This will get rid of the DRIFBLIM, but this sets up a farm down for Dubwool. Opponent does not want to let that happen. They pivot back into Cresselia. Cresselia escaped Shadow DRIFBLIM just to get absolutely walled by Registeel. Registeel shakes out the Moonblast like it's nothing, and Registeel will begin to fire off these Zap Cannons. Zap Cannon number 1 connects onto Cresselia, and we see the attack debuff as well to add insult to injury. This will be a pretty lengthy matchup as these are 2 extremely tanky Pokemon, but Registeel has the absolute edge in this matchup. Going for Zap Cannon number 2 here. Zap Cannon will connect onto Cresselia, and we see another debuff. Opponent, at this point of the match, 4 Mystical Fires, 2 Zap Cannon debuffs. They must have forgotten what it's like to actually do normal damage with a charge move. Going for Zap Cannon number 3 here. Zap Cannon will KO the Cresselia. Back in comes the Registeel. Registeel trying to make it to a charge move will be outpaced by a singular turn. Registeel will commit the shield. Can honestly just commit to the lock-on farm down here. Opponent's Reggie is low enough, going to give up switch, send in the Dubwool, and it's a Scrafty in the back. Scrafty down on energy to the Dubwool, which is good news for the Dubwool. Dubwool firing off the Body Slam here. This Body Slam is going to be getting that Scrafty well into the yellow health and close to the red. Scrafty firing off a charge move. They go for the foul play. That does some solid chip damage, but XL Dubwool is an absolute unit, able to withstand the super effective counters and the foul play. KO the Scrafty and the Registeel. Picking up a terrible lead in the next match, Shadow DRIFBLIM into Aurorus. We see a save switch into Dubwool, which will immediately be answered with Virizion. Virizion is terrible for the Registeel in the back, so it is good to bait out the Virizion, but this is still a pretty uncomfortable matchup. Virizion massively overfarming, Dubwool able to reach another Body Slam. Body Slam is going to connect onto the Virizion. Virizion could have thrown 2 Sacred Swords before a 3rd Body Slam was reached here. It looks like it'll come down to CMP, but the Virizion actually chooses not to throw. Virizion lets the Body Slam through, and now Dubwool can actually take switch. This is big, because that means that the Aurorus is going to be aligned against the Registeel. Is the opponent going to farm down with the Aurorus here? Opponent sends in Gliscor instead. Gliscor looking for the double resisted Shadow Claw farm down. Body Slam will connect onto Gliscor. Able to make it to yet another Body Slam here. Body Slam will connect and get the Gliscor low. In comes the Registeel. Registeel is quite bulky, but honestly, it may have been better to tank the energy on the DRIFBLIM, as DRIFBLIM, of course, isn't going to be able to do a whole lot going up against that Aurorus. They're firing off Liquidation number 2. The Registeel now below half HP, and that's going to be a problem, because this is approaching a range where the Aurorus might actually be able to KO. Focus Blast will be shielded. We see a pivot into the DRIFBLIM. DRIFBLIM going to be answered with the Aurorus. DRIFBLIM can fire off the Mystical Fire here. This will hit for neutral damage and debuff the Aurorus, but all Aurorus has to do is go for a Meteor Beam, and that debuff goes right away. They will full send the Meteor Beam. That's going to KO. In comes the Registeel, and that's game over. Hopping to the final match, picking up a very nice lead, Shadow DRIFBLIM into Venusaur. And even better, Venusaur is staying in this matchup. Venusaur banks a Frenzy Plant, they save switch into Talonflame, no clear counter swap, so gonna stay in with the Shadow DRIFBLIM and go for the Icy Wind. Icy Wind will connect onto the Talonflame, lowering their attack, but even a debuff Brave Bird would hurt. We see the shield from the DRIFBLIM, it's the Flame Charge, Talonflame, putting their attack back to 0. DRIFBLIM overfarming, firing off the Icy Wind just before they make the Flame Charge. Icy Wind gets the shield, going for another Icy Wind and losing CMP on the Flame Charge. DRIFBLIM will commit the shield here. Flame Charge connects, going for the Icy Wind. I'm not sure, it looked like an Incinerate snuck there, and Incinerate definitely should not have snuck, that was CMP. And in the back, there is a Shadow Charizard. Charizard will be debuffed with the Icy Wind here, needing to lower the damage output from the Charizard, and now in comes Dubwool. Double, definitely not going to appreciate a Shadow Blast Burn here, even though it has been debuffed. That just does so much damage. Double makes the payback. This is non-stab, but will do more damage than a Body Slam. Payback connects, getting the Charizard low. Charizard with 1 HP, able to hang on and make the second Blast Burn. That's going to KO. DRIFBLIM able to get the Hex Farm down. In comes the Venusaur. Venusaur has energy from earlier, and they're going to be able to fire off the Frenzy Plant to get the KO. That is going to be getting rid of the DRIFBLIM, and now it's all up to the Registeel, and this is going to be a battle of resisted charge moves here. The resisted Frenzy Plant from the Venusaur, the resisted Zap Cannon from the Registeel. Registeel farming up, Venusaur able to make another charge move here. Frenzy Plant connects, getting them low, and now firing off the Zap Cannon. Will we see the attack drop from the Zap Cannon? Zap Cannon connects. We do see the attack drop, and that could prove to be very important. Registeel farming up, going for the catch onto Talonflame, demonstrating great patience, and that, I believe, well, this is going to be close. Frenzy Plant does not KO, and that should be game over here. Zap Cannon takes out the Venusaur, and that's a good game. All in all, Mystical Fire looks like a nice side grade addition to Shadow XL DRIFBLIM's moveset. I will say there were definitely some situations where having the Shadow Ball could be nice, but I do think the extra steel coverage, depending on the team comp that you're running, can be quite nice. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.